the Buffalo River. And I really wanted to get into all that, but first I have to tell you that I got a really, really, really great idea for my dystopian book that comes out in October. But let me tell you a little bit what I learned hiking along the Buffalo River, which I just did for 5 days. First of all, I was so excited for this trip. I did it with my 2 daughters. Hello, puppy. Yes, hi. And it was backpacking, and it was with my church's youth group, so we had someone hauling in our tents and our sleeping gear every night, so we did not have to carry those in our backpacks, which was honestly such a blessing, such a huge blessing. But the rest of it was still hard enough. We had no access to showers. So got home yesterday, showered. Oh my goodness, feels so good to shower after 5 days of backpacking. So I don't really want to go into the backpacking because I want to tell you what idea I came up with for my dystopian. But I will say I was very humbled because I thought I was in better shape. I hike, I exercise, I do backpacking stuff. I'm doing a backpacking trip in Italy in August. So I did not think that 5 days hiking along the Buffalo River in the Ozarks was going to be a big deal. But it was. I really struggled. The hardest day, we had an elevation gain of 1,000 feet over a 3-mile period. And I mean, it was hard. It was really hard. It's not like I reached a point where I was like, I can't do this. I'm going to die, blah, blah, blah. But I had still thought when I started out on the hike that I was in pretty good shape. I did not think, because our longest hike, we had an 8-mile day between Kyle's Landing and Still Creek. And I was like, oh, we're not hiking more than 8 miles on any day. We only have one day that's 8 miles. The other days are all 7. So I totally thought that this backpacking trip along the Buffalo River was going to be easy. And I was so humbled because I've practiced hiking here behind my house, and we've got some good inclines, but the highest elevation gain we have is like 200 feet. I was there was just no way for me to realize what an elevation gain of 1,000 feet in a course of 3 miles was going to feel like. And it was hard. It was hard. It was hard for the girls. It was hard for the teenage youth that we had with us. And they were all so great, such great attitudes. But there were a couple of comments like, what's that noise behind us? I'm like, it's me. I'm back here trying to catch my breath, trying not to fall off this mountain. Of course, if you're familiar with the Ozark Mountains, it's for the most part, you're not walking along cliff edges. You're not really in any danger of falling off. There were exceptions. We did go out to Goat's Head Bluffs that overlook the Buffalo River, which was one of my favorite hikes. But that one was a little bit more dangerous. Not sketchy in any way, just having to be more careful. But anyway, while I was trekking along the Buffalo River, I was in my headspace. I actually don't like when people talk to me when I'm hiking. Like we can talk a little bit. You can talk to me a little bit while I'm hiking, but mostly I like to be in my headspace. And I had a lot of time in my headspace because I was slow. So I was often pulling up the rear on this backpacking trip, and I had a lot of time to brainstorm my upcoming novels and think them through. And I was really excited to have my dystopian that's coming out in October under my new pen name, Ruby Valladares, which is my grandmother's name. And I'm very excited to use it. And everything that I would be launching under the new pen name. It still falls into the fantasy realm, like everything under my real name, Tamara Hartheiner. But I have branded myself under Tamara Hartheiner as a PG-13 author. Like, you can trust that everything under my name is going to be appropriate for 13 and up. Not that it's necessarily written for kids, it could be for adults, but it's going to be appropriate for any age level. Under Ruby Valladares, I make no such guarantees. Anyway, I was able to really plot. The book is already up for pre-order. And I actually wrote the rough draft when I was pregnant with my 13-year-old. So very, very, very long time ago. Hi guys. Thanks for jumping in. Just talking about rehashing a lot of things. Rehashing my very grueling 5-day backpacking trip that I just got home from, and the plot book ideas that I got while I was plugging away in the Ozark Mountains. Beautiful, beautiful trip. Really, really, really hard. And I had a lot of time to think about what hard means. What does hard actually look like? And when I wrote this dystopian, the one that comes out in October, I was heavily influenced by Hunger Games. That was very much the dystopian Hunger Games, and I can't remember the name of the one, but it was where like falling in love is against the law, and they surgically alter people's brains to keep them from feeling emotional attachments. Anyway, those were the books that were influencing me when I rough draft my dystopian. And so it has very much that hard edge feel to it, like The Road and Hunger Games. And that's actually how I classified it. It was like The Road meets Hunger Games. But in the 13 years since I rough draft out that book, hi Mythical, thanks for joining me. My writing style has changed, my writing interests have changed, and I am definitely more into not necessarily straight up horror, but definitely more into the action-packed suspense, almost psychological thriller, but less psychological and more actual thriller. So the book is taking on more of a Hunger Games meets World War Z. So as I was hiking along the Buffalo River, this 5-day backpacking trip where I'm just in my headspace trying to not be too overwhelmed by what I was doing, because it was really, really hard. Like I said, I thought I was prepared for a backpacking trip. I had gone out hiking, carrying my backpack, all the things you're supposed to do. But those inclines, the way we climbed, yeah, it set me back. I was humbled. And I've realized that I need to bring in the zombie element of my dystopian a lot sooner. They play a big part, but it's almost like the way they read in the book now, they almost read like an afterthought, because to be honest, they were. When I first wrote the book, it was like The Road meets Hunger Games. Very dystopian, less supernatural horror. And so the infected, they're called the infected rather than being called zombies. The infected do play a part, but I think they need to play a bigger part. So I was rethinking the beginning of the book. And I do have a scene near the beginning of the book, maybe chapter 2, where there's a breach. And you see what happens when the infected get into the refugee camp. And I was rethinking that beginning, that breach. And it comes across in the book like a singular incident. And I need to bring the infected more to the forefront as, if not the main antagonist to the story, definitely one of the biggest ones, one of the biggest threats. So that they are constantly, so that the reader is constantly thinking, where are the infected now? And so that every moment has that feeling of suspense in it. Like, we don't know where the infected are. We don't know when they might appear. We don't know what they're doing. And I think I need to have an incident with my main character where nobody, including the reader, knows if she might have gotten infected. So it's really good for me. Things like that backpacking trip was really hard. It was really, really hard. 5 days, no showers, no bed, lots of sunscreen, ticks, beautiful views, and lots of time in my head. So, yeah, it was great. It's great. Now I have to rewrite the beginnings. My phone is trying to change my orientation. It's kind of weird. Anyway, I will be making some changes to that book, which is up for pre order, and bringing in the element of the infected to the forefront because I think that that is going to be one of the big plot pushers in the book. So, yeah, it was good for me to hike the Buffalo River and get all these ideas working in my head. So, watch for it. If you haven't had the chance to go snag the book, it is on sale right now while it's up for pre order. It releases in October. It's called Beneath the Burning Sky. And now is a great time to get it before everyone else does because this is the cheapest price it will ever be. So, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to go pack for a flight.